Hey guys, welcome to A Little Help for Our Friends, the podcast for people with loved ones struggling with mental health. Hello, little helpers. We are going to do something new, which is psychoanalyze reality TV. So a little bit out of our wheelhouse, but also kind of in our wheelhouse. We are not so secretly big reality TV fans. Obviously, I am coming from that world, but Kibby might be even more hardcore than I am. So we figured it was time to break down a show. We're going to start with Love Island. Since it has like 80,000 different episodes, we are going to let you know that we are at about episode 18, 19, something
I
like
think so,
that.
yeah.
Okay, so if you have not gotten there, listen no further because we don't want to spoil anything. But we thought we would do like a mid-season, you know, psychoanalysis and then pick up later. But first, Kibby, let us know your exciting announcement.
Yeah, I mean, we've been teasing this and mentioning this in past episodes. You know that we've been working really hard on the Cool Mind community, and it's launching July 14th, so this Monday. So it's really exciting. It's going to be really cool. It's the meat of it is going to be a course, like a skills group where we all can learn these different skills of how to support our loved ones with mental illness or addiction. So we're going to cover all sorts of evidence-based strategies that we have been talking about on this podcast and we know work, like setting boundaries and actually making it stick, rediscovering yourself and communicating effectively and really understanding what your loved ones are going through. So it doesn't seem like this chaos of, oh my God, my loved one's just exploding and I don't know what to do, but you actually understand what's happening, how emotions work, and how to work with them instead of against them. So it's going to be really cool. The skills group is led by me, Jacqueline, and I are going to tag team a lot in it. So you'll get both of us and a lot more direct interaction and feedback. And there's going to be a lot of curated resources and a lot of peer support. So it's going to be this whole platform we could all get together and work on these and support these together. So if you're curious, just go to coolamind.com, KULAMIND.com. The link is in the show notes. And you get 50% off of your first month. So as a little helpers, you get this special discount. So yeah,
I feel like that was so serious and educational, and now we have to pivot into snark and trash TV.
it's great.
So
Well,
just a quick
balance.
reset. Yeah, I think
So
this
this
show
is your
is,
first. This is your first Love Island that
it
you've
is my
watched.
first, yes, we're doing Love Island USA is the first
Okay.
season I've ever watched, and I think so far it is stupid, but with a couple.
What do you What do you think is stupid? I mean, not no, but what do you think is stupid about it?
Okay, at first, the first few episodes I watched, I was like horrified by how shallow these people were. I've since come around on many of them.
Right, because of the Bachelor people are just there's so much depth.
No, I think there is more depth on The Bachelor than on Love Island by like an order of magnitude. And
Mm.
that's really saying something because do I think there's a ton of depth on The Bachelor? Not necessarily. But the lack of depth on Love Island is like astounding. But I once again like I think the people are not quite as despicable as I thought in the very beginning. And I kind of like some of them, like Alandria and Shelley. And that might be it. But
They are amazing. Yeah, it's true.
yeah. Um, then my biggest complaint was that nothing happened for 12 straight episodes, and I could not figure out why the show had staying power. Then the 13th episode was like amazing, and there were like a couple of real bangers in there that like hooked me, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm getting this a little bit more. And now I'm struggling with the concept of this show. Like
Mm.
I don't really get it. I don't get what the goal is.
I think the goal is really it's the same with The Bachelor. I think the goal is that we need a modern Colosseum. I think that we used to have a stone structure where we threw in Christians and people we didn't like into an arena and threw some
Yeah.
monsters at them and just gleefully
I think that's a
Schadenfreude
good,
watched.
yeah, I do think that is actually as good of a metaphor as we're going to get. I mean, but here's the difference between The Bachelor and Love Island,
Mm,
and really every other show I've ever seen in Love Island. The Bachelor, the goal of the show is to be in a relationship. On Love Island, I cannot figure out what the goal of the show is because people keep getting punished for being in relationships. So are they
mhm.
supposed to stay single? But then if they stay single, they're also sent home. So are they supposed to be in couples where they like are getting to know that person, but then also explore and like lean into the show? No, because those people are also getting sent home.
Mm.
So I can't figure out how you get to the end. What are you supposed to be aiming for?
So I love Love Island. I think to really understand it, to really do a deep
Yeah.
dive and understand the show at the roots, you have to watch the original Love Island UK. And I don't know if it's original, but on Hulu, there's like old classic season one, season two. And it was before the age of influencers, and it didn't
Hmm.
seem like anyone knew what the show was all about. And you just watch people go nuts. Like, not only do you have the nuts of just, like competitive dating while you're
Yeah.
always in a bikini and always probably dehydrated, but
Hmm.
you really got to watch people go insane from cabin fever. Like you felt it all. Like it really was
Yeah.
like in the beginning you could feel that they're so excited and nervous and they're becoming friends, and then they become super close as a group. They
Yeah.
become like best friends and like ride or die. And then when people get ripped away through voting or, dumping from the island, you feel that loss. And then at some point you realize that these people have not left this house for, I don't know, whatever it is, like 6 weeks, and they start to get kind of weird. They start to like yell at each other for no reason. They get obsessive with people who are normally, mentally healthy, I guess. And then
Yeah.
at the end, you could see that there's like a finish line where it's just kind of like let's pair up, make a good story out of our pair, and try to win this. And at the end, they used to do all these kind of prisoner dilemma games where it was like they would give the winning couple, who's voted by America, they give the winning couple a like a potential prize of $50,000. But then
Hmm.
you had to say whether you want to keep it
Right.
or split it with the other person. And
Yeah.
I forgot exactly. I think there's all these different permutations, but you had to say that you would split it with the other person for them actually to get the money. And then
Oh,
so it's kind of like, are they really in for love or the money?
yeah.
You know?
Well, they ripped that off from Bachelor Pad, just so you know.
Oh,
I mean,
interesting.
Bachelor Pad may
Or
have ripped it off from somebody else, but
exactly,
I think Bachelor
exactly.
Pad's older than Love Island, though, like by a lot.
I maybe.
Bachelor
I mean,
Pad.
the UK version. Anyway, I think
Yeah.
it's just been fascinating because it just feels like an aquarium of relationships, right? Like The Bachelor is so centered on this one person, right?
Hmm.
And it's a little bit more like a Bachelor in Paradise kind of feeling but you get this like closed ecosystem of new friend group. And
Hmm.
every season has had a different pulse because of the group, whether they get along, whether there's a huge bromance, whether there's like a really strong, like romantic couple. And interestingly, most of the ones who are like strong from the beginning are not the ones who win. It's usually like kind of a redemption story where I'm not going to give it away, but the first season of the UK, it's like the messiest girl, the one who was like the disaster. And you just felt for her because she was just like a dysregulated mess. I loved her so much. She was so unfiltered, and she had such like colossal dumps and breakups and being, like cheated on and everything. And she finally found someone towards the end and she won,
Yeah.
right? And there was another couple who was like very much in love the whole time and they did not win. So it just is a little bit more about like watching someone go through the trials and tribulations of dating within this like crazy closed system. And yeah, that's the goal, I think.
I mean,
I don't,
I
that's not
guess what I'm
what's going
saying is if I went on this show, I would have no idea how to win. Like
on.
literally none. I'd be like, and the only person on this show, I think the most fascinating character on this show is Ace. I think he is the only one with any kind of strategy,
We'll get
or at
into,
least any kind
okay.
of winning strategy.
I
Uh-huh.
want to hear what you think the strategy, his strategy is. But the weird thing, I don't think they do this as much with America. They did this in the UK where it was like there was a live audience watching outside the villa, and there was like way more voting. Like each week you voted for something, whether it's voting for like the worst couple or the worst girl or whatever, or sometimes there was just like events where they read Twitter like tweets about them, like that are
Uh-huh.
happening live. So there was a lot more of like awareness that the world was watching them. Yeah, so it's just,
I mean, what I will hand
just
Love
love
Island.
it.
Love Island has to be the most sadistic show I've
Hmm.
ever seen. It's not the most cynical. The most cynical show I'm going to hand to Temptation Island or The Ultimatum because those are
Yeah.
shows that pretend like they're about love, but actually they're about showing that people are so incredibly fame hungry and shallow and attention seeking that they will quite literally undermine their relationship by throwing a grenade into it and then
Hmm.
crossing their fingers that maybe they'll make it out to the other end. Like that's cynicism. This show is sadistic. With the America Votes thing, the whole like, oh, I'm sorry that your country doesn't like you. So even though, Huda, you are in a very strong relationship with Jeremiah thus far, you might have to go home because America thinks you're gross. Sorry. Like
Yeah.
that is fucked up.
I would, before we watched this, I watched the last season of Squid Games, and I was just, just this same reaction as probably everyone were like, oh, that's so disgusting. These people, it's depicting this like this wealthy class of people who just literally make people play games, like make desperate people play games to their death. And they're
That's what
like,
we're doing when we watch
teehee.
Love Island.
And then I was watching this, I was like, ooh, this is real life. So yeah, it
Yeah.
is sadistic. But I think I think we wanted to talk about this episode or at least this show because I do think that this season, out of more seasons that I've seen, they've it shows like pretty interesting relationship dynamics. A
Hmm.
lot of these people are actually more emotionally intelligent and
Hmm.
communicative than I've seen other seasons where it just has
I
been
know.
like
I think that's probably why
screaming
it's
disasters.
boring. That's why
That might
I've
be there's some
enjoyed it.
people there are a lot of people who seem very like Alandria and Shelley and I think Ace too that you're like, oh, they actually like they're reasonable people. They're just
Yeah.
they're kind or they're thoughtful or they're doing a thing. But I think because we've been talking so much in these past few episodes about like the pursue withdraw dynamic and coming into relationships with anxious attachment and core beliefs about being broken or unlovable, it's making me watch this show from that lens and I'm like, oh, we really are seeing that like in full technicolor, literally technicolor lights in the show.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Some like therapy speak has come in, but not seemingly in a manipulative way necessarily. Like, it seems like some kind of expectations, maybe, you know, developed from like therapy or the zeitgeist being like much more about healthy relationships and communication shit has come in. So,
Love bombing, a lot of talk about
right.
love bombing.
Right. So that has come in to destroy the show by making everybody kind of effective at getting along. Who should we start with,
Yeah.
Jeremiah and Huda or someone else?
Let's start. No, let's start with Ace,
Okay.
Ace and Amaya. Just because Huda and Jeremiah,
We
we need
need
to get
to
in there.
dedicate. Yeah.
But Ace is interesting. My husband also finds Ace interesting.
What does
I
he find?
found him.
Uh,
Well, I think Alex actually is similar to Ace in the way he moves about relationships, and because I had this reaction of like, yes, look at the terrible things he's doing, and he was like, oh, like that makes sense. Makes sense why he said that. He's very straightforward. Why are they upset? And I'm like, So what do you think? What do you think about Ace and his strategy?
I think that Ace is the smartest person on the show. Um, it's interesting because he was so sought after right away, and he doesn't seem like he has the markers of somebody that people would go for. Like he looks very young to me and like short, for instance. And so for the first several episodes, I was like, what is going on? Like, why are all of these women dying over Ace? And then I watched more and I was like, I get it. I think Ace has something approaching true confidence, meaning he doesn't seem to be putting it on. He's never trying too hard. He gives you this sense through his like calm and through his communication that he's got it handled and that makes women relax. Like if men can do that, they can get any woman they want. So I think that's his appeal. I think what I can't tell if he's actually secretly insecure or if he is just extremely strategic and trying to win this show is he is undermined. He is okay, because he has this quality, it's not just the women who are falling for it, it's also the men. So he is like the ringleader of these guys, and they seem to be doing whatever he says. He got Jeremiah voted off, and Jeremiah had more. Yeah, he did. America didn't rank Jeremiah in the top, and then because of Ace's little like buzzing around in people's ears and talking to them about how Jeremiah wasn't truly like giving the show a chance, he wasn't truly exploring, he got kicked off. This Jeremiah is the only person. Like you could argue that he's taking this show more seriously than anybody else. He had a legit connection with Huda for a very long time. Then he broke it off when he saw that she was acting crazy. And then he started zeroing in on another girl. And Ace made that out to be a problem. That Jeremiah is actually able to connect with people and form relationships. He's like, he's not exploring enough.
Um, although Ace did drop, I mean, I think when they talked about it, there are some hints that seem really fishy for Jeremiah, as if like his strategy was to go after the most desperate, the most like willing to lock down and like just
But
like
why?
lock down with them.
What evidence was he dumped Huda, he dumped her very quickly. And then this other chick wasn't desperate whatsoever. She came in and everybody wanted her. And he it was 24 hours that he had with that girl. Like how can you accuse him of being strategic and like what if he just was attracted to her?
I am dying to know. I mean, we gotta talk to someone on the cast because I am dying to know the dynamics on that set. I mean, I know the dynamics of The Bachelor on the set from you and from some of your friends, but like, are the producers around? Like, all you know is that this is cut so quickly, right? You have like hours and hours of them hanging out on the beach, and then the episodes have to be cut within like what, a week or two. Are there producers there? Are they feeding them questions? Are they being like, what's going on? Like, so I wonder if Ace had some weird thing with Jeremiah where he could sense that Jeremiah was, angling for something. There was this moment where in the beginning when he was dating Huda, Jeremiah said something like, "Yeah, and if we win this, we're probably going to win the full thing." Like he talked about winning early,
Mhm.
and so we don't know if Ace is like, had some kind of, saw that, or was just didn't like him, or saw that he was a legitimate threat. But I think that's interesting that you're right that Ace really like went after that couple and
I just
successfully disbanded it.
he's very successful. Yeah. I'm interested to keep watching him through the season because he seems like he's got his little fingers in everybody's little pies and has comments for all of them, which to me seems insecure. Like I think the truest confidence on the show is Pepe, who is my favorite. But Pepe is like in his own lane. I don't think you've seen this scene yet, but a bunch of new chicks come in and a bunch of new dudes come in and they swap.
No, I
Cost
haven't
them
seen that
more.
yet.
Well, anyway, whatever. All the new chicks have to kiss the men while they're blindfolded, and they have to rate them, and he gives everyone a 10, which is just nice. It's maybe not interesting, but like, come on, you've got a bunch of women coming on, and he was more interested in making sure that they didn't feel insecure and that they felt, like good about this vulnerable thing that they had to do. Versus other men were like, I'll give it like a 6 and a 5. Not enough tongue. I don't know. I didn't really feel that passion to me. It was just like, you guys are such fucking losers. But anyway, Ace is very interesting to me because he seems to be able to get anything he wants at his own pace. And he
There
seems
is a
to make
history.
everything seem reasonable the way he says it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, for one thing, there is a history on the show of a character like that. So, there's often in
Hmm.
some seasons, I'm thinking especially the first one, there is a guy,
Hmm.
somehow he's usually short. Like Kem was another one on a different season. But there's usually a guy who has the personality who drives the bros. Like he's kind of like the, I won't say the alpha, but the alpha in the sense of in this world, what makes you alpha is
Hmm.
not. There's usually a guy who's everyone likes. Right, the one you come in and everyone thinks is hot, but then there's a
Hmm.
guy who's the ringleader, and usually they're the most socially intelligent. So that's what
Hmm.
makes you alpha in this world is to basically work the room, so to speak. And Ace, you're right, this confidence, this calm confidence, he's not jittery, he's not shaky. He says what he feels. But it was interesting. I remember noticing him with Amaya at first, like for the
Hmm.
weird reason he picked Amaya, and then what immediately was like, I'm a slow burn, don't
Don't
show me
touch
any
me.
affection, don't touch me. And that was a really interesting example. That was like a microcosm of the pursue withdraw dynamic that was like amplified with Huda and Jeremiah. But Ace would be like he's of course the withdrawer, right? Like he sits back literally. You see the videos of him and any girl he's talking to, and he's leaning back,
Hmm.
but yet his body language is back, but his eyes are focused on the girl. And he's
Totally.
like, you could tell he's super engaged and slow and like nods and asks questions, but yet keeps himself away. So
Hmm.
that was such an interesting thing that balance. And he does this kind of like small cat and mouse where he picks Amaya, and then immediately after he picks her, he goes, "Hey, I want to let you know I'm a slow burn."
Hmm.
And to her credit, I know that we have feelings about Amaya. Um, that she to her credit she did a really good job of being emotionally vulnerable, which is kind of impressing me about this whole cast. Like she was just like, I kind of wish you said this tomorrow, you kind of burst my bubble. I
Yeah.
was just on cloud nine because you picked me, and now I
I
kind
thought
of
she was
feel like
effective there
crap.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. And he, it's interesting, he did this a couple times, but he sounds validating and reasonable, but he still stays withdrawn and closed. And
Hmm.
it's so, I don't want to use the word gaslighty, but I think these are the moments that people feel are, when people do this is gaslighty because it's like leaning in while staying out. So
Hmm.
she goes, I'm just like, I'm really hurt right now. She starts crying, and he goes, thank you so much for telling me that. I appreciate you sharing me your feelings.
Hmm.
I didn't want to hurt your feelings. That's it. And I was like, oh, oh wow, he's so open and kind. I mean, I'm like, but he just left her hanging. He did not say, no, I really do like you. I'm really excited. Like he didn't add in any reassurance. He just validated, thanked her for being vulnerable, and said, I didn't want you to be upset, but here you are upset.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, the
Yeah.
boldness. And then he kept doing that with her. He said, I don't like it when you call me babe. And she was like, you could see her getting riled up. And every time she would get emotionally riled up, he would further drop back. He would further be like, okay.
Hmm.
So she's pursuing, like, hey, you're making me feel insecure. I'm out here feeling vulnerable with you. And usually you're, that expecting the other person to kind of like comfort you or be there with you, but he just stays back.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It was
clever.
hard. Well, it was interesting to watch because it's she was so set up, He's basically saying I have boundaries. And she responds from a place of like, okay, but your boundaries seem to suggest something about your interest in me, which they did in many ways. Um, because I don't know that he would have those same boundaries with Shelley. And so she then reacts from a point of like, like I just came on this show. I was riding high and now you burst my bubble and I'm being honest about that. And he doesn't have to reassure her. You know, that's not necessarily his job. But of course, then she's like, okay, well, how do I even engage in this relationship? And then he's like, you can't call me babe. And she just uses the word babe with everybody, which so many people do. Like people getting on her ass about this is so stupid, but whatever. Then every time she says it, she gets crazier and crazier in her own
Mhm.
head. And it's like, you know, he doesn't have to apologize for having boundaries. But I think so much of the time when we communicate boundaries sometimes, or when we get upset about something, it's really something else that's under the surface, and the other person's picking up on that. Like I think the same thing happened with Huda and Jeremiah and the pancakes, but we'll get there. Um, but yeah, I mean, you know, she did start behaving really ineffectively. And at a certain point, he shut it down. He's like, let me be crystal clear with you. And that was effective, but it also left me with a sour taste in my mouth because she wasn't wrong necessarily. He picked her and then immediately pushed her away for the entire duration they were together without giving her
Oh,
any kind of credit for her feelings.
I do wonder if that was a move, like a strategy of like not picking Shelly right away or
Right.
just like keeping Amaya in the game for some reason. But yeah, and then you watch Amaya just like go nuts. And that, you
Hmm.
know, that pursuer withdraw dynamic that we've talked about where this is a weird scenario because it's a scenario where he was clearly trying to reject her, right? He wasn't
Hmm.
into her. But this also happens in couples where both people actually like each other, but one person's response to conflict or disconnection is withdrawing, avoiding, and staying quiet, and the other person is to pursue and push and demand, right? And so she's like, what do I do? Like, what's going on? And so you could see her amp up and he drops back even more. Ace is a really good example of how we just kind of gone haywire with the word boundaries. I feel
Hmm.
like as another one of those social media words, the pop psych words that have like spread like wildfire. Like
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so guilty of it. How do we set boundaries? How do we, it's okay to have boundaries. Protect your peace. Speak out, say it out loud. You know, boundaries are healthy and they are. But I think that we lump a lot of different things into boundaries. And Ace shows this really well. Like he goes, "You're not respecting my boundaries." Now, his boundary was just like, "Don't call me babe."
Hmm.
But a boundary, like if, in the real definition of it, should be a guideline of what should we do in different situations? Like what do we want instead? Here is a boundary of behaviors that I find acceptable and behaviors that I don't find acceptable. So if he should do it correctly and kindly, he should set boundaries like you know, I really feel uncomfortable when being called babe so early on. Do you mind calling me Ace? Or do you mind um, showing me you care in this other way? Or I just want to
Hmm.
clarify when you mean babe, do you mean that you're seeing me as a boyfriend? Right? Like, so just giving her some guidance of what he wants instead. Instead,
Hmm.
him being like, I don't like it when you do this is a really good example of how people are taking boundaries to say, like, it's okay if I tell you what I don't like and what you do.
Well, I mean, it is okay, but it felt like a willful misrepresentation of why she was doing that. And so it wound up feeling more controlling than anything.
Hmm.
Don't use that word that you use very frequently with men and women. It's setting her up to fail instantly.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. And as you're saying, like, he's saying, I don't want to lock down so early. I don't want to act like we're boyfriend and girlfriend. And if that's what you call boyfriend and girlfriend, like, I'm not comfortable with that.
Right.
Um, but then it should be dispelled when she says, I call everyone babe.
Hmm.
I call my boyfriends babe, but I also call everyone else babe. He should be like, yeah, okay. Like I just was clear. I just wanted to clarify, you know, your
Yeah.
expectations about this relationship.
I mean, it's sticky because you are allowed to not like behavior from another person, but I think saying like, these are my boundaries, don't be yourself, it's just, it's difficult territory. I don't,
Yeah.
you know, these are my boundaries, you need to speak and you need to use a different lexicon. It's like, I don't know. You can
Hmm.
say, I don't really like it, but I understand that's how you talk. Just, I have this other preference. But to say, like, you're breaking my boundary by using your normal word choice is a little
Yeah.
bit suspicious.
Okay. We should get into the Huda Jeremiah stuff because I don't
Okay.
think I definitely don't think on Love Island you locking down and being serious with someone is necessarily a bad thing. In all the seasons I've seen, usually there's one or two couples that met in the beginning, went strong, love each other, and like made it all the way through. That is totally an
Hmm.
okay thing to do. But the Huda and Jeremiah situation did look weird.
What looked weird? I mean, I have my own opinions, but what looked weird to you?
I think at the beginning, I mean, it's I think it just had this flare of anxious attachment. I don't know what side. It looked more on Huda's side, but
Yeah.
it looked on both sides where they were like, we're going to be here until the end, right? You're my person, right? I'm never going to explore. I'm never going to explore. Usually there, even in the world of Love Island, there is a little bit of a pacing of we're connecting. Oh, wait, let's get serious, right? There is like a couple episodes or a couple weeks where they're like enjoying each other's company. And then at some point, they like ask to be boyfriend and girlfriend or admit to each other they don't want to explore any other connection. But this was like week one, phew, we found the person who wants this too. Oh my God, let's. And then there was just so much, especially in the beginning, there's so much testing and reassurance seeking. I mean, we talked about this like what was it last episode of like anxious attachment and reassurance seeking.
Hmm.
I was just watching it like did you bring me the pancakes? Did you say this? Did you say that? This just setting up tests. Is Jeremiah in this? Is he in this? You normally put your hands on me. You look upset and are not talking to me about it. This must mean that you don't love me and don't trust me, right? It was like everything that he did that she didn't like was a sign of possible rejection. It just felt to me like a core belief, like she walked in being like, I'm afraid of being rejected and left and abandoned. So it's like, I found a guy who really likes me, and I'm going to make sure with every single moment that he is reassuring me that he's going nowhere.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that necessarily. I mean, I have some caveats to it, but I also just want to point out that Hannah also got sent home for zeroing in. So it's not just Jeremiah that got sent home and like Huda that's been on the chopping block. Like, and then Ace was all upset when the girls sent Hannah home, but they sent her home with the same logic that he'd used to send Jeremiah home. So this thing keeps coming up with like multiple people. Do I think that Huda is demonstrating an anxious attachment to Jeremiah? Yes, but I also just want to throw in that I feel like part of what happened was as soon as she told him she's a mom, he took a giant emotional step back and started looking for any reasons to not be into her anymore. And I think
Hmm.
she picked up on that and then got anxious. Because as
Give
soon as
me
she said,
examples because the pancake thing. Let's talk about the pancake thing. First of all, can you tell me exactly? I didn't actually see that part. I just saw the fallout. Can you describe to me the pancake situation?
yeah, I mean, I thought that was mostly on her. It seemed like he made her a pancake. It wasn't fully cooked. She had to redo the pancakes. Some other guy helped her. He was checked out somewhere. I don't know. And she was like, "How could you let another man?" I mean, yeah, that sounds crazy, but he had started picking on her, where the way she would talk to him, which in fairness was annoying to me too, but he hadn't noticed any issue with it until she said that she was a mother. She'd be like, "Oh, like good job. You did such a good job." And he was like, it's like I'm your kid." Like that specific language showed me that he likely had a big pivot in his brain and was like, "Oh, this is like way more intense and like not, you know, paradisey like I was hoping." Like I this is not a casual, this is not something that can necessarily go at my pace. Ending up with her means being a dad. Like anybody would take a step back from that. But he acted as if he told her that he wasn't, but then he started noticing things and getting irritated with her. And then she started, I mean, I think she's a sensitive person. She started picking up on that. And at first would be like, kind of like, uh, okay. but then they kept piling up, and then the pancake thing happened. And at this point, I think she's looking for evidence. And then she's seeing, oh, all these other guys are like doing sweet things for their girlfriends, but Jeremiah and I are the strongest couple, and he's not doing anything for me. And she's getting anxious, right? And like she's starting to blame him for shit. And then he's backing away, saying that's unfair. And then it just unravels.
To be clear, what she is picking on is that he made a pancake and she didn't like it. And then he didn't fix it right away, and someone else gave her a pancake. I
Yeah,
mean,
that was insane. That was insane, yeah.
like
But we
there's
also but we also weren't there. I mean, I could kind of see all of these people, like clearly breakfast is a ritual where the men show that they value their lady by making her a beautiful breakfast. And she gets this breakfast that has been like undercooked and she's already insecure. And then who knows, maybe he really was just kind of wandering around watching her like recook something and another guy notices and he comes in and starts helping her and she's just kind of like what the hell? Like we didn't see it, in other words. What got explained was insane.
it's interesting when you said about the mom thing. I didn't really pick up on that timeline. I have to go back and look. But I also felt this claustrophobia of like every he Jeremiah just seemed to be a hardcore withdrawer. Like he said several times in those high intensity moments, he didn't come to comfort her when she was almost voted off. He responds to intense emotional situations with withdrawal and avoidance and
Uh-huh.
freeze. Like
Uh-huh.
the guys were gave him shit for locking in or like saying that they doubt his relationship, and then he like sulks and like hangs his head like a Peanuts character. And then she's like, why are you like this? Like, why aren't you talking to me? And he's like, I need some time to process. I need space, which is a classic withdrawer thing to say. Some people just need to like in response to intense emotions or conflict, they just go inside and they just need some space. And that's what's interesting about this show is that they don't have space, literally. They're like
Yeah.
showering and sleeping with the whole group. So if you are the kind of person who needs like a moment to chill, you're screwed. You're absolutely
Well,
screwed in that
yeah.
world.
But you also, as the person who needs a moment to chill, you also need to sacrifice that need sometimes. Because
Of course.
if I were
Because you go on a
Huda,
dating show where there's like 78 cameras, of course.
well, but yeah, if I were Huda, and look, like I also find her claustrophobic and, kind of off-putting in various ways. She's grown on me a little bit after the breakup. I think she handled some things well, so that's why I'm defending some of her. If I were Huda and America just tried to vote me off,
Mm.
even though I was in a strong couple, and then I almost had to leave the island where I was falling for a guy. And then that guy did not come and talk to me about it. I would be fucking livid. So I felt like that was pretty justified. The way she responded was obviously ineffective. But like, what a shitty thing to do. I mean, that was so humiliating for her. And the strongest connection she had there didn't come and be like, I'm so sorry your country hates you. Like, I mean,
Here's you're buying into the Huda core belief of unlovable insecurity. So even just watching all of that, and maybe I don't know what's real. Maybe her core beliefs are true in those moments and confirmed in those moments. I really saw that she was projecting a lot of these insecurities onto him. Like any of these moments, like, I don't know, the pancake thing or whatever, she's like, oh, he doesn't like me, or oh, he's a bitch and a liar. And it could be just be like, oh, he's kind of lazy, or oh, he doesn't really respond to conflict well, or anything like that. Or even the whole them getting voted, like basically what happened was America voted for Iris, the new bombshell, to be matched up, to be recoupled with Jeremiah, and Huda almost got kicked
correct,
off because of that, right?
correct.
So it was a recoupling plus an almost dumping. Now, the issue, which is the death of people with anxious attachment, is that it was the most brutal rejection you could ever get from
Mm-hmm.
America
Mm-hmm.
that is ambiguous. So she was rejected, or something terrible happened, and she didn't know why. So
Hmm.
it wasn't clear. It's still not clear to me what happened. Did people vote because they didn't like Huda, or they didn't like Jeremiah, or they didn't like them together? And in that space of uncertainty, she went crazy. And not only went crazy, but you could watch her turn her mind from like, I'm rejected, I'm like, what's going on? I'm so confused, to like, he's a little bitch and it's all his fault and he's the toxic one.
Yeah,
Right?
and
She goes,
that was no good. That was bad.
yeah, I mean, like that, like in that space of like uncertainty, she really just like, you could see that it went full on. Like she, at some point, she was like, I'm putting the pieces together. He sucks. And I'm like, okay, but you don't know why. Like you don't, like maybe
I
that's the
agree.
case where,
I
so
agree.
I,
I agree with the part where she then turned it on him, and that was fucked up. But I also do think it was because America hated her. Just as a viewer, I wanted them to break up and for her to go home, you know? So it's kind of like, I don't know. If that happened to me, I would find it very, very, and I do not have anxious attachment. I would find it very, very difficult to come to any other kind of conclusion.
yeah, I think I mean, as a human being in that, in the Coliseum of love,
Yeah.
I don't blame her for going nuts, right? However, it really was interesting when you watch her go. She really seems to walk in with a belief that men are, they won't show up for you, and they're going to leave you,
Yeah.
because she locks in with Jeremiah instead of enjoying it and relaxing and maybe just kind of feeling him out. Maybe he has some qualities that she's not into, like he doesn't make her pancakes in the way they should, whatever. She's like, "Do you like me? Do you like me? Why aren't you talking to me like this? Why aren't you talking to me? Why?" And then as soon as she gets the rejection, her mind comes completely like, "Well, see, he's a bitch and I need to leave him and he's a toxic one."
Yeah.
So it's like she just comes in with this hugely negative core belief of how relationships are going to go, instead of being like, I don't know why America voted this way, and it's driving me insane, and I'll never know the answer, but like clearly our dynamic is toxic, right? This is more the case of what happens with couples, is like the combination of people
Hmm.
creates powder kegs. Like like their dynamic was toxic. Whatever was going on, they were contributing to what was going on.
Yes, but she's the one that almost got kicked off, and he didn't. So it felt more personal to her. Whatever. She clearly
Right.
handled it terribly. But I'm just saying the fact that he didn't come and comfort her, that was a bitch move. Like
Yeah.
that was unacceptable. And then her response was also unacceptable. So at that point you're like, "Oh, thank God they're breaking up." Like
Yeah.
this
Oh,
is not good.
if anything, he was, whether he was angling for the win or not, like maybe he was in it for the wrong reasons. And maybe that's, maybe the locking in too early is their code for in it for the wrong reasons, but I mean, if anything, Jeremiah is very impressionable. I mean, like she's like, like, you're gonna be my
Yeah.
boyfriend. He's like, okay, I'm your boyfriend. And then the guys are like, I think your relationship's weird, and he sits there like, and then just like anyone says something
That's
strong to
totally
him, and he's
true.
like totally thrown off. So yeah, he might have not had the initiative and the confidence that she was looking for, but
Yeah.
like he just seemed like a little bit of a little
Bitch.
wuss, like, yeah, manipulate,
Oh wow. So
just a
here we
little
are on
bitch.
Huda's side. It's
I
kind
wouldn't say hood aside. I would say that her coming in with this intense, and maybe it's because of the mom thing. Maybe it's because
She must have
she
experienced shitloads of rejection.
yeah, she came in like, I mean, in other shows and reality shows that we've seen, people with kids have come in saying that. I mean, they might wait, but they're usually kind
Mhm.
of excited and like saying, I can't wait to share this with you. But she was very clearly like, I don't want to tell people. I'm going to tell people secretly one by one,
Yeah.
because I'm afraid of getting rejected. So maybe
She
when, as
was
soon as she
on
opened up that door, like it
she was on Love
invited all her
Island.
insecurities. Huh?
Yeah. She was on Love Island. I mean, I just think it is different to tell somebody on a show where the median age is 23 and they're there to do twerking competitions that you're a mom. versus Married at First Sight, right? Or The Bachelor or whatever, which is all about commitment. So, but yeah, I mean it look, I mean she's clearly insecure. What I do think was valiant though was that after she almost truly got sent home, but they sent Jaden home instead. Taylor and Alandria were like, "You've got to stop talking about this." And she did two things that I thought were admirable. One is that she did not stop talking about it right away. Instead, she went and had a closure conversation with Jeremiah, which I think she handled okay. And I think that was a good idea. And two, she actually then did stop talking about it. I would not have been able to stop talking about it. I mean, 24 hours after almost getting voted off, and the guy that I was just quote unquote seriously dating, I mean, in this, realm, like, like stood behind Jaden, like wanted me to get voted off. Like, and I was once again humiliated by America. Like, I would not be able to shut the fuck up about that for like at least a week. And she shut the fuck up.
Okay, fair. In the Love Island world,
Yeah.
things move very fast. And actually, they seem to be more persistent and obsessive than typical. I mean, I've seen similar breakups like that, but it's maybe the way it's cut. It's so quick turnaround that you don't have a lot of, unless you're like really into that person and want to, like date around so you could actually get back to that original couple. You don't have a lot of time to ruminate over that person. She was aware that America and her friends were sick and tired of this drama. So
Hmm.
she knew either from like emotionally or, from the strategy of the game that if she kept going on this, no one's gonna like she will get voted off.
Yeah.
And people are being thrown in all the time. You gotta like lick your wounds and get back on the dating, like,
Look, I,
the
I
next
understand
morning.
that. But she was passionate enough to march up and down the length of the villa screaming, "You're a bitch," for like 20 straight minutes, okay? Like she cared, this bitch cared. When I was, now granted I was 18, but that's not that much younger than Huda. When I was a Rotary exchange student, I went on a trip to Greece and Italy with the other exchange students. And I met a guy named Kike. He was Mexican. And I gave him my first blowjob. And we were a couple all through the Greece part of the trip, okay? And then I have no idea why he switched to Bruna, the Brazilian. And it was humiliating. And I cried. Well, no, I tried to put on a brave face, but I did cry a little bit when we went to Pompeii. I guess I did put on a pretty brave face. But the point is, if I, when you are dumped and rejected in a humiliating fashion, and then you then have to go and watch that person make new connections and hang around right
Yeah.
across from you, I would at the very least be hiding under the covers. Like, I think she I just think it was a valiant effort. I think it was impressive.
I mean, it's valiant to go in the show. I mean, it takes guts to literally wear a bikini in front of America for like 8 weeks straight and
That's true.
desperately try to get someone to like you. I mean, the bikinis leave nothing to the imagination. I mean,
No, they
at
don't.
this point, it seems that our society has said, all we need to do is cover the top of your ass crack, and we don't need that, privacy bar on TV.
Yeah,
Like it's fine to show the whole butt.
the whole
Anyway,
butt.
the whole butt. I don't know if it's because I watched so much Love Island or because I don't know. There's something. I have obsessive dreams about summer camp. Have I told you about this?
No.
Literally every dream I have is
Yeah.
some sort of summer camp kind of feeling where we're in a resort or we're in literally a summer camp by the lake, or there's just some idea of like a self-contained ecosystem of a group of people. And usually, as is pretty typical of my messed up psyche, I'm like, it's the end of the trip.
Uh-huh.
I'm so scared to lose everything, but yet I have a task and it's an impossible task and I have to run through the hallways or the rooms or the people to try to solve that task and I can never do it.
Well, that sounds like your
And
exact psyche.
this it's and I know that it's something about like either I have to get on a train or a plane to get out of there or I'll never get to come back.
Yeah.
There's something about the ending of it that feels so threatening.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because that in our society we grow up literally going to summer camp, going to school, going to college, going to grad school, and then adulthood is just nothing. Like you
Yeah.
don't have any of this self-contained social
Yeah.
world ever again. I mean, especially with remote working, you go from being in a pod, like on a Love Island kind of world, to like being literally by yourself. I mean, this podcast is probably the most like dedicated social interaction I have,
Yeah.
except for with my family.
Can I tell you
So,
about my dream last night?
yeah.
Okay, it was also in a little bit not summer camp, but it was like an old school university like Oxford. Anyway, that's not really that relevant to the story. What is relevant is um Jason's wife came back from the dead and he had to choose between us.
What did he choose in your dream?
I woke up before it happened, but what I do remember, so first of all, actually, apparently she had come and knocked on my door, and my roommate had told her that I wasn't home, even though I was. So that was, I don't know what that was
Mhm.
about. But then I walked in on them cuddling, and I was like, oh God, I guess I should give you guys privacy. My fiance, I guess I should give you guys privacy. So I like left for a while. And then he called like a mutual friend of ours and who doesn't exist. It was a dream friend and he was like doing pros and cons. And he was like, well, one thing is that, Heidi has more money, so her style is more sophisticated, which is definitely not true. I have great style. Um, and then at one point, I know I was considering throwing in the towel and just being like, I can't compete with someone who has come back from the dead for you. So, she's your original wife. So I don't think I actually got to, I think I woke up first, but isn't that terrible? And I texted Jason about it. And you know what he didn't say? He didn't say, don't worry, of course I would choose you over my dead wife.
The
I
ace
know.
move.
Instead,
Did he thank you for sharing?
he said, you and your dreams, baby. And then he said, I'm glad you gave me friends in your dreams, or something like that, because he doesn't have any friends in real life. It's like I like that I have friends in your dreams, something like that. But yeah,
Sweet Jason. You have the best fiance. See? Love Island creeps into our dreams.
yeah,
And the idea of having to like the social norms around having to pretend that you have to be cool with the guy that you're coupled up with, like exploring other options and, you know, beautiful cushioned areas
yeah,
right next to you. I mean, it's so
terrible.
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, actually, yeah, that's kind of direct. Gosh.
Yeah, and then the social like in normal life, if you saw your well, normal life when you see your husband, or your fiance cuddling with his dead ex-wife, you'd be like, "Oh my God, like there's a miracle on earth." But in this, but then you would also be like, "What? How could you do this?" But in Love Island world, you got to be cool with it. You got to be like, "Yeah, I just see the guy that I was just making out with hitting on someone else."
Maybe that was why I conjured his act because actually, if I saw him cuddling with Heidi, there would be a big part of me that's like, oh, you got here first. So I guess you get to cuddle my fiance. And I would feel insecure. I'd be like, do you want her instead?
Hmm. How did that make you feel?
That made me feel bad, Gibby.
Hmm.
Yeah,
That's
that
as
made
far
me
as we got
feel
in terms of learning how to deal with dreams. How does it make you feel? And remember that everyone in a dream is actually you, right?
bad. I do have to compete with a ghost in some ways. I mean, he doesn't make me feel that way, but that's what it means to marry a widower. Anyway, we were talking about the show. Do we have anybody else to psychoanalyze? Alandria's
But it isn't.
cool. Shelley's cool. I said that at the beginning.
I do think that the show has an exceptional number of people who demonstrate like really good communication skills. Like
Hmm.
There's a moment, it's so small. Huda, yeah, I think it's Huda, of course, was upset about something because she misinterpreted Alandra's, you know, I don't know.
Tell
She
me.
said, yeah,
Oh,
she said
Landry
something
dealt with
like,
that
she said,
so well.
we're gonna talk about this later or something. And Huda was like, oh my God, I'm being rejected, as per the core belief, right? That she's projecting all over the place.
But
And Alandria sat her down and was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I totally see why you would think that I meant, like that you were in trouble or that I'm upset with you, but I just meant we're gonna have a girl chat later. I apologize. And I was like, wow, I gotta I'm
she
gonna try to
deserves a
record
trophy for
that.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, they is Shelley and Alandria particularly are just like masters of being open and connecting, and but honest and being like, yeah, I'm into this person, I'm into that person, like I value both of you. So
Yeah.
they just are really able to navigate, just like I think they would be amazing in a polyamorous relationship, just like they're both
Yeah.
so beautiful too. I mean, oh my
Uh-huh.
God, I mean, what is going
I do
on?
think Elandria looks almost exactly like a praying mantis. That's not a bad thing, but just think about it next
That
time you
doesn't
see
sound
her.
like a good thing.
People look like animals all the time. It's partly the way she carries herself.
Hmm.
She's very
Hmm.
like calm and her posture is extremely erect. And the way
Hmm.
she moves her arms is also very much like a praying mantis would.
That's true. That's a really good, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Alandria's a emotionally intelligent praying mantis.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremiah's a little bitch.
Jeremiah's a little bitch. Huda's,
Huda,
you
Huda,
know,
so, who hurt her? Like who hurt that woman?
probably the father of her child, if I had to
That's right. Yeah,
guess.
that's probably true.
It
It's
was
probably true.
heartwarming to know that he's still in the picture, though.
Oh, is he? Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Who else is on the show? Austin is. Oh, I just have to really applaud Austin here. Austin has cheated on 6 people, and nobody is worried about that.
I mean, Austin seems kind and fun and chill, but this man slept with like hundreds of people and sent 1,000 nudes, and he's a pool boy. I mean,
And you,
this guy's working it, you
but he
know?
cheated on 6 people. That is so many people to cheat on, Kibby. And no, everybody was like, oh, but then they never brought it up again. They never were like, oh, new women who come in, just so you know, this guy has cheated on 6 different people. Or
I
maybe
mean,
he cheated 6 times on the same woman. I don't know,
I
but
feel like that's less shocking than sending 1,000 nudes, a
yeah, I
thousand
also
dick
feel like he
pics.
probably exaggerated that. But maybe he's on
Why would
OnlyFans.
you bump up that number? But he's just so unassuming. He seems like innocent and kind and good natured, and it just flies by your radar that like, oh, he's actually like a pretty big player.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, but nobody, yeah, nobody comments on it. Like that, that has been stuck in my head forever. That is amazing.
Hmm.
Amazing that you can present as the exact opposite of how you
Hmm.
actually must treat women in order to send 1,000 dick pics and cheat on 6 of them. I mean, that is like really significant. Um, Nick is Nick is kind of he has more personality than I originally thought he did. It's kind of coming out. He seems like he has a sense of humor. Sierra seems pretty mature and cool.
Nick is definitely the one that I'd go for. That's what everyone goes for him. He's a cute, funny, accessible guy. Um,
Yeah, I would go for him when I was 22. I would go for Pepe now. I mean, I would go for
yes.
none of them now, but but Pepe
Yes,
is
Pepe
like,
definitely. I was surprised. He seems a very like respectful and stoic and got a good head
yeah,
on his shoulders. He's
and
one
hot.
he's the one that I wouldn't date at first, but I would be like, yeah, I probably should.
Yeah, I probably should. I would totally date him at first.
He's a
I'm
responsible
like,
pick.
it's so weird because I always date people who are super animated, but I've always been drawn to like the Matt Damons of the world who are like much
Hmm.
more laid back but I just never date them for whatever reason. Maybe they're not into
Hmm.
me. I don't know. But Pepe. Um, I also
The one
thought one
go for it.
interaction I thought was hysterical was Hannah when Hannah got really mad at Charlie for like
Oh yeah.
talking to some other girl. But then as he's working it through with her, she starts laughing because she realizes she's being crazy. And then he just goes, You're you're a psycho. You know that? And she just continued laughing. It was such a perfect comment because she was being psycho, but in an endearing, like, way where she picked it up herself. And she was able to be like, yeah, I'm just being insecure and getting mad at you because of my own feelings.
I mean, it's a
Then she
crazy
bawled
world
when he
where,
was
yeah, I mean, this was right after she climbed to Pepe's lap and made out with him. I mean, like the interesting thing about this show too is like the use of jealousy, right?
uh-huh.
Because there's not as much of like a monogamy is like is it's like a weird like polyamorous like non-exclusive world where you can be jealous, but that's almost like your signal that you actually like this person,
I know, I
right?
think
But
that's so
it's
toxic. I mean, it's true to some extent, but I just think that we aim for a world where we can tell we like somebody before we fear losing them from another by another person.
but yeah, but if you think about it, like it's like a really accelerated version of life where it's like are you going to lock in and settle
Hmm.
knowing that they're going to throw bombshells for the rest, like you're going to
Hmm.
get picks that are going to increase in quality, like they're throwing in the top tier contestants later on, right? Like they get hotter and hotter. You're like, oh my god, Iris, like are you a person, like what is going on here? And
Oh,
it's
I
like
didn't think she was that hot. Interesting.
but they intentionally like tempt them
Uh-huh.
away,
Yeah.
so it's really like a game of okay, am I going to put all my chips in this one or am I going to stay open? And if I stay open, I might risk this connection that might
Hmm.
actually take me to the end.
Hmm.
So,
And then also the challenges where they all are like have to make out with each other in the most revolting ways, by the way. I
yeah.
mean, this is another way the show has like flipped culture on its head. They say things like there wasn't nearly enough tongue. Since when has like tonguing come into popularity?
They
We
just
every
make out
lesson
with
I've ever
tongues
learned
out.
about kissing, tongues out. I mean, it's like a little bit, little hint, little tease,
No,
but
they seem to
not.
be aware that the camera is looking and they go with tongue first,
There was
like it just,
I got a clip of Huda and I put it on Instagram where she literally goes like this, like before their lips meet for the first time, her tongue is 100% out.
yeah,
And I'm not picking on Huda. They're all doing that shit. It's
yeah,
the
I
most
know.
bizarre thing I've ever seen.
Maybe they're being coached by producers. They're like, we like this,
Yeah,
you know? Do you
passion
want to get
memes.
memes about you? Just stick your tongue out. One more thing I'll say about the dynamic that I find interesting, and maybe I don't know if this is a gendered thing,
Hmm.
but how tricky it is for people to get group support and validation around your conflict with others. I'm watching how Jeremiah and Huda, do their thing. And the men are way more likely to be honest in different directions. They're going to be like, we love you, man. I think this is weird. And I think that you guys, like, especially Ace, you guys are being like toxic. This is like a bad sign.
Hmm.
You weren't right when you didn't go up and comfort her. However, I love you, right? And the women, the entire time, whoever it is, they're like, yeah, you're right. The other one is toxic.
That's what women do,
Mm-hmm.
though.
Yeah, you're just a queen. You gotta make sure they treat you like a queen and nothing less. And I'm like, can we call out some of our girlfriends for bad behavior? I mean,
I
that
do
is
think
that
the
is
whole
what we
queen
do
thing is
though.
annoying. I know it is what we do. I mean, well, I have a reputation of being a devil's advocate because I don't necessarily do that, but then it makes people mad at me and call me a devil's advocate in a bad way.
So why is that? Is it like is that a girl thing? Is that there's like a girl code of like, for your girlfriends to say, yeah, you're not the crazy one. She's the crazy one.
Yeah, I mean, well,
To
I was
just
just
side with
talking to my
you.
mom about my sister and she defended my sister and I was like, how dare you?
So I wonder if it is a gender thing. Like I wonder if there's an expectation where girls like support each other. And I do I I I wonder if it's now that I'm thinking about it, I was like, why do I react that way? I feel like girls maybe, or maybe me, I'm more quick to doubt myself on a regular basis. And
Mm-hmm. That's a good
so
point.
I'm more hard on myself, right? Most of my thoughts are like, oh, I'm wrong, I'm dumb, I did this wrong. Blah, blah, blah. And then when I get in an argument or get into like, I'm upset, I go to you
Mm-hmm.
to get a little bit of encouragement or a little bit of like support. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if that's a case in all girlfriend relationships or men relationships, but I wonder if that's why girls like maybe like if you're calling me out on my shit, I'm like, I know that already. I already have thoughts about how I'm wrong, right?
Yeah.
So shut up. Don't tell me I'm wrong. Tell me it's all the other person's fault.
That was not, in fact, how I felt with my mother. I think my sister was completely wrong. But yeah, I know. I feel that way too. I think that, yeah, women are very quick to, I mean, yeah, most maybe mature women are, I don't know, are very quick to blame themselves. And well, I do think that women look for validation more often than maybe men do. At least validation in the form of feedback from friends.
Hmm. Interesting. Well,
Well, should we go watch some Love Island and
I don't know if there's any tips, but I think the tips are,
be like
do we have any?
Alandria?
Not really. I mean, the tips are like, yeah, like do whatever Alandria does
Yeah. What would Alandria
to
need?
take care of her looks and also communicate and connect to people.
Yeah.
Don't do what Huda does.
Yeah.
Um, and then let's figure out what's going on with Ace. We really want to hear all of your opinions about this. So if
Yeah,
you
of
want
course.
to click on the button that says like send us a text, it's annoying that feature we can't actually respond. So if you actually want to talk to us, like give us your email address so we could respond.
Leave a
Because
comment. Leave
sometimes,
a comment with your email address. Some people have just left their email address and we don't
oh
know what
yeah,
we're emailing. So comment plus your email address and then we can respond.
yeah.
Or
And
DM us
then
on.
July 14th, opening up the community and the skills group. So if you want to be able to, have a safe space where we can talk about this stuff and talk about your loved ones with mental illness or addiction and just help you learn all these skills that we talk about, like communication, setting boundaries, maybe in a nicer way than Ace, becoming Alandria and the way she is honest and open, but also like very confident, self possessed, we will learn together.
Yeah. I think Ace is like Littlefinger, but with more romantic pizzazz. But he's like
All right.
cunning. He's cunning and clever. Littlefinger happened to be my favorite, one
Send
of my
us
favorite.
your hypotheses and guesses about Ace. We
Yeah.
would love to hear your thoughts.
Okay. Well, we love you all very much, and we'll see you next week. By accessing this podcast, I acknowledge that the hosts of this podcast make no warranty, guarantee, or representation as to the accuracy or sufficiency of the information featured in this podcast. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. This podcast and any and all content or services available on or through this podcast are provided for general, non-commercial informational purposes only and do not constitute the practice of medical or any other professional judgment, advice, diagnosis, or treatment, and should not be considered or used as a substitute for the independent professional judgment, advice, diagnosis, or treatment of a duly licensed and qualified healthcare provider. In case of a medical emergency, you should immediately call 911. The hosts do not endorse, approve, recommend, or certify any information, product, process, service, or organization presented or mentioned in this podcast, and information from this podcast should not be referenced in any way to imply such approval or endorsement.